يا إلهي انظر إلي فالهوى استولى علي لم أجد بين يدي عملا يرجى لقيا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم. الحمد لله. The last week we talked about furud al-wudu, and we said that there are 6 fara'id, there are 6 compulsory things that a person should do when he's making wudu. The first thing is that he has to make intention and niyyah. So he has to make intention of wudu. And the second thing is to wash his face. And we said about the hair of the face that he needs to wash the complete hair, inside and outside of the hair, except the thick beard. For the thick beard, you only wash the outside. And then we said he has to wash his hands, 2 hands. The hands till his elbows. And by till I mean with the elbows. The elbows is wajib to wash in washing the hands. So that is why the Musannif says ma'al mirfaqain, with the elbows. And then we wipe any part of the head. That's the 4th fard. And the 5th fard is to wash the legs ma'al ka'bain, with the ankle bones. So until the ankle bones, including the ankle bones. And then we have to do tartib, that is the order. In the commentary here he mentioned about al-mashu ala al-khuffain, to wipe the leather socks. Al-mashu ala al-khuffain, to wipe the leather socks. So the leather socks, it's jaiz to wipe, so it is not wajib or masnoon. It is just jaiz. You can, if you want, you can put on your leather socks, your khuffain, and you can wipe on top of them. It is jaiz. And the jawaz has been narrated by al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala. He says that I have narrated the jawaz of mashu ala al-khuffain from 70 sahabas. So the mashu ala al-khuffain is mutawatir. It is something that cannot be deniable. It is jaiz to do al-mashu ala al-khuffain. In some cases it might become wajib or masnoon, but the original hukum of mashu ala al-khuffain is jawaz. It is jaiz to wipe al-mashu ala al-khuffain. But there are conditions. First of all, it must be worn when you have complete tahara. So you must have complete tahara. The tahara which is taharatul akbar, and tahara which is al-asghar. So you must have complete wudu when wearing it. You cannot wear it while you don't have wudu, or you've washed one leg and then you put the khuf on that leg. So it means you don't have complete tahara. You have to have complete tahara, meaning you have your complete wudu, then you can wear your khuffain. And also that khuffain has to be strong, so that somebody can walk over them. He can travel with them. Should not be such that if you just walk a little bit, then they become torn. So the material that it's made of must be strong, like leather or any other kind of material, but it must be strong. Okay, so the socks that we are wearing nowadays, some people, they do mash on top of that. This is not khuf. The Arabs, they used to have a name for everything. They have al-jarmuq, which is a type of socks which is worn over the khuffain, and then they have the khuffain. And the Arabs, they call what we are wearing not khuf. They call them socks, jawrab, isn't it? So jawrab is not al-khuffain. But if you have such socks that can fulfill these conditions, then fine. But if they do not fulfill these conditions, then you cannot wipe over them. Okay, so they must be strong so that a person can walk with them without them becoming torn or destroyed. And they should be of such that if you pour water over them, then the water does not go to the legs. Okay, so you have, for example, socks, like thick socks, but if you pour water, you might have thick socks, you can walk with them and so on and so on, and they don't get torn easily. But if you pour water, the water goes through, then that sock is not al-khuffain. And they have to be clean as well, free of najasa. And they have to cover the place of wudu, so the legs has to be covered. Okay, and They have to be covered, so from the bottom and everything. The place where the leg goes in, it's fine if you can look through. It's like when you're wearing your clothes for salah. Okay, somebody wears the lungi or kikoi, or what do you call it? Ma'awiz. Yes, so you wear it. So you're covering your aura. But if somebody was to look from underneath, then he can see your aura. You see, but in salah, from underneath, it does not affect. And with the khuffain, from the top, it does not affect. So where the leg goes in, if it's wide, somebody can look through and he can see your inside of the leg, that does not mind. That does not affect it. So covering, meaning covering from the sides and the bottom, it must cover the fard area. But from the top, it is okay. Just the same as in salah, satrul awra. If somebody was to look from the bottom, it does not affect the salah because it's called satrul awra. You have covered your awra. So the same thing with the khuffain. So if it has to cover the area. And the person who's wearing it, because it is, if somebody breaks his wudu, it means he can go and do wudu and wipe over the khuffain. But if he has the greater impurity, al-hadathul akbar, for example, he has janaba and so on, then it means that he needs to take his socks off. So it must be that as long as the khuffain are on, he must not have hadath akbar. Okay. And that any time while he's wearing it, the fard area is not seen. If he's wearing it and somehow the fard area becomes seen by tone or it comes open, then that tahara is broken. Okay, so it is jaiz to wear khuffain, and these are the conditions that it has to be worn while somebody has complete tahara, meaning he has his wudu, complete wudu, and that it is strong enough he can walk with it, and that it stops water going through, and that the khuffain itself become clean, free of najasa, and that they cover the area of fard, the legs with the ka'bain, with the ankle bone, and that it should not be visible, that area, any time that somebody is wearing it. Okay. So if you're wearing it, how long do you have? For the person who is muqim, who is in the area, he can wear it for 24 hours. Okay, 24 hours, what time does it start? It starts from when the wudu is broken. So a person goes, he makes his wudu, and he puts his khuffain. Then he goes on for 10 hours without his wudu becoming broken. That does not count. The minute the wudu is broken, then from then on you count 24 hours. So within 24 hours of that time, a person can go and make wudu. And when he comes to his legs, he just wipes over the khuffain. Just wipes over them. Okay. If a person is a traveler, a musafir, that distance which allows qasr, then he has 72 hours from the time he breaks his wudu. 3 days and 3 nights, 72 hours. Okay. And from the time that the wudu breaks. Okay. Within that time, if he decides, I'm going to remove my khuffain, so what does he do? He washes he did his wudu, and then put on the khuffain, and after a while he broke his wudu, and then he made another wudu and wiped over the khuffain. Yes? And then later on, after 2-3 hours, he decided, I need to take them off. So he took them off. So when he takes them off, he only needs to wash his legs for his wudu to be complete. Because according to the Shafi'i, al-muwala is not a rukun. Tartib is rukun, is fard. But for it to be done straight away, that you need to wash this part and the next part before the part before has been dried, this is not rukun, this is not wajib. So it means you have washed your face and you washed your hands and you wiped your head, and then you wiped over the khuffain. After 3 hours, you decided to take your khuffain off, so you took the khuffain and you can wash your legs to complete your wudu. Okay, if you want, you can do your wudu from the beginning. It doesn't matter. But al-muwala is not a rukn. Okay, according to the Malikiyya, it is a rukn. The Malikiyya, they say that you need to wash every part before the previous part becomes dry. But according to the Shafi'i, that is not a rukun, it is masnoon. Therefore, if you're doing this khuffain, and you take away the khuffain, you have tahara, you take away the khuffain, all you need to do to complete your tahara, your wudu, is just to wash your legs. Okay, this is the what they talk about when they talk about the khuffain. Okay. The next thing here we have about water, because we talked about wudu. You need what to do wudu? You need water. So we need to know which kind of water we can use. Clean water, when does it become clean? And when from clean becomes najis, and so on. So first of all, he says, Faslun, al-ma'u qalilun wa kathir. Water in Sharia is either little or a lot. And he says, فَالْقَلِيلُ مَا دُونَ الْقُلَّتَيْنِ. That which is considered little is that which is less than 2 qullas. It is less than qullatain, 2 qullas. And this is received from the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, إِذَا بَلَغَ الْمَاءُ قُلَّتَيْنِ لَمْ يَحْمِلِ الْخَبَثِ. If the water reaches 2 qullas, then it does not carry impurity. Meaning any water that is 2 qullas or more, if an impurity goes into it, then it does not become najis. Which means anything which is less than that, if any impurity goes into it, just by the impurity touching the water, then that water has become najis, it has become impure. And this hadith, it is sahih. Al-Hakim rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that this hadith, it is sahih according to the Shaykhain. If you look at the rules of the Shaykhain, meaning Imam al-Bukhari or Imam Muslim, and the way they compiled their 2 books, then this hadith also is sahih. And it is also narrated by Abu Dawood wa ghayrihi with a different kind of narration, and the hadith also is sahih. So, فَالْقَلِيلُ مَا دُونَ الْقُلَّتَيْنِ, the water that is little is that which is less than 2 qullas. And the qulla in the Arabic language are 2 big pots. The Arabs, they used to know. So they have these 2 big pots. I don't know what they used to use them for, maybe storage or something. So they call that qulla. Okay, so anything that fills those 2 pots, it means that that water is a lot. So Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala estimated how much these 2 qullas will be. So he says it is 500 ritl Baghdadi. It is 500 pounds. Yeah? If you are to say the water and weigh the water, it comes to 500 pounds in the Baghdadi pounds, 500 pounds. Okay. If you were to look at measurement for a cube, they say it is 1/4 of arm's length in width, 1/4 arm's length in length, and 1/4 arm length in depth, if it is cubic. Okay. So that is about 2 qullas. Okay. If it was a drum, it will be 1's arm length, in circumference, in what do you call it? Diameter. The line that goes in, yes, one. Huh? No, diameter, because you have radius and diameter, isn't it? So diameter. So 1 arm's length, and in depth it will be 2 arm's length if you have a drum. So anything that is less than that is little water, and anything that is more than that, it is a lot of water. Okay. فَالْقَلِيلُ مَا دُونَ الْقُلَّتَيْنِ. The water that is considered little in Sharia is that which is less than 2 qullas. وَالْكَثِيرُ قُلَّتَانِ فَأَكْفَرُ. And that which is considered a lot is 2 qullas or more than that. Okay. And then he says, وَالْقَلِيلُ يَتَنَجَّسُ بِوُقُوعِ النَّجَاسَةِ فِيهِ. And the water that is little becomes najis just by the najasa entering the water. So if the najasa touches the water, whether there is a change in the water or not. So you have a bowl of water, and a drop of urine goes into the bowl. Whether that drop of urine changes anything or doesn't, that water has become najis. So the water that is little becomes najis by it just touching the najasa. Okay. وَإِن لَمْ يَتَغَيَّرْ, even though the water does not change. So the little water becomes najis just by touching the najasa. But of course there is an exception whether the najasa is ma'fu anhu. If the najasa is ma'fu anhu, meaning forgiven najasa, then it's fine. What is the forgiven najasa? It is that najasa which the naked eye cannot see. So if a najasa which the naked eye cannot see falls into that type of water which is considered little, then the water is still tahir, because that is forgiven najasa. or if an insect or an animal falls into the water, a type of insect that if you were to break off the limb, no blood comes out, then that kind of insect or animal also does not affect the water if it dies in the water. Okay, because we know that corpse is najis, al-mayta is najis. So if mayta goes into the water, it makes the water najis. But if the mayta itself is such that if it was alive, you were to break a limb off and blood does not come out, then that water is still clean. And this probably is derived from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he talks about the fly. If a fly goes into the water, then what do? You dip it in. Okay, so by dipping it in, the fly has to die. So if it dies, it becomes a corpse. Okay, but it does not make the water najis. Why? Because it is such an insect that if you are to break a limb of it, then no blood comes out. So flies, mosquitoes, ticks, they say even a lizard. You cut off the tail of a lizard, no blood comes out. You cut off the leg of a lizard, no blood comes out. So any kind of creature that if it dies and falls into the water, but it is such that no blood goes through it, la dama laha sa'il, then that thing will not make the water najis. So these are two exceptions. Okay, two najasas that if it touches the water does not become najis. One, that such a najasa that the naked eye cannot see, and two, such an animal that we have mentioned. Okay. So it says, وَالْقَلِيلُ يَتَنَجَّسُ بِوُقُوعِ النَّجَاسَةِ فِيهِ وَإِن لَمْ يَتَغَيَّرْ وَالْمَاءُ الْكَثِيرُ لَا يَتَنَجَّسُ. And the ma which is a lot does not become najis by the najasa going into it. إِلَّا إِذَا تَغَيَّرَ طَعْمُهُ, unless its taste is changed, أَوْ لَوْنُهُ, or its color is changed, أَوْ رِيحُهُ, or the smell of the water changes. And last time when we were here, somebody was asking about the swimming pool. Okay, so the swimming pool is a lot of water. Okay, that is a lot of water. Are you allowed to make wudu with it? If najasa falls into it, you need to see, does the water has changed color or taste or smell because of that najasa or not. If it has, then that water has become najis. If it hasn't, then that water is still clean.
Doesn't swimming pool contain chemicals and stuff automatically? So the water itself being already not water.
Yes, we'll talk about that now, inshallah. Okay. So sometimes what kind of we talked about the najasa, if it falls in, isn't it? So al-qalilu, if the najasa falls in, it becomes najis straight away. Al-kathiru, if it falls in, no, unless what? It changes, whether it changes color or taste or smell. Okay. But what if something tahir goes into the water now? Okay. So if something tahir goes into the water is still clean. Yes? But can you make tahara with it? Because in the Shafi'i they divide water into three types. They say this is water that is clean, and this is water that is clean but can give you tahara, and this water is najis. Okay. So the water that is clean is that which is still in its rightful form, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it. Rain water, well water, river water, lake water, spring water, the ice if it melts, okay, or the moisture in the morning, the dew, it's called dew. In the morning when you come, there is moisture on top of that water. All of that water is in the form that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. So that is tahir mutahir. It is clean and it gives cleanliness. Okay. But if it becomes used in wudu, for example, it becomes musta'mal, or if tahara goes into it, something tahir is mixed with that water. Okay. So for example, you have orange juice. Orange juice is what? It is clean, but can you make wudu with it? No. So it is tahir, but ghayru mutahhir. Okay. So if something clean goes into the water, when does that something clean affect the water? If it goes into the al-ma'ul qalil, if it goes into the water, al-ma'ul qalil, then if there is not a lot of change, that you can still call this water. For example, drops of orange juice goes into a bowl of water, and you look and there hasn't been a change. The change is so slight it's not visible. And if you say, what is this? You will say it is water. So therefore it is still clean and can cleanse. But if it has made a change until you cannot call it any more water, you have to call it orange water, or this is za'afaran water, or this is lime water, or this is this water, then it means it is not water anymore. Okay, so therefore this has lost its cleanliness. Okay, so for the swimming pool now, if you have so many of those chemicals in it and the color has changed to such an extent it cannot be called water anymore, or the smell has changed to such an extent you cannot call it water anymore, or the taste has changed to such an extent you cannot call it water anymore, then it means you cannot make tahara with it. You understand? Okay, but if it's light, then fine. But I don't think the water that we have at the moment in our swimming pools classify. Nah.
What they do is they put so much chemical in there
Nah.
that it's not water. Although
I know, that's what I'm saying for the swimming pools that we have here now, because the smell is so visible and the taste is so obvious. You understand? Even though you cannot see it, the color is still the same. But that kind of water cannot make tahara. But in some areas like, in the Middle East, they have water, they fill in the swimming pool, and then right after people use it, the next day, they let that water go into the farms. So that water is still in its rightful form. Even if some najasa goes into it, it does not affect it. Okay, but this which has been affected, it's Wallahu a'lam. What if something falls into the water which has no smell and has no color and has no taste? Then what do? Then if it is clean, that something is tahir, then you estimate. You estimate the middle, awsatul awsafi. So you estimate that, for example, the color, it is the color of juice. And if it is the taste, then it is the taste of rumman. What do you call rumman? Pomegranate, isn't it? So the taste of that. So you estimate how much of that went into the water. For example, you have a bowl of water, and then something else which is tahir fell into that water. But that something has no smell, no taste, no nothing. Okay. So you estimate now that amount that fell in. What if it was juice? Is it going to change the color? If it is going to change the color, then that water has not become tahir mutahir. Or you estimate if it was taste, the taste of pomegranate. Is it going to change the taste? Okay. For smell, you estimate, luban. Luban, what do you call the traditional chewing gum, or they use as bakhur. They take the white stuff and they put on bakhur, isn't it? Okay, so that has a smell, luban. Yes. Yeah, so that luban, if you are to put it in water, it changes the smell of the water. Okay, so you estimate that amount that went into the water. If it was luban, is it going to change the smell or not? If it is going to change the smell, then that water has changed from becoming water to luban water. Okay, and the same thing with najasa. If you have a lot of water, we said that the najasa, if it falls into the water, whether it changes, if it's little water, whether it changes the water or not, then the water becomes najis. Or what if the najasa falls into a lot of water? Then it has to change the water, isn't it? The three awsaf of the water, the taste, the smell, and so if the najasa that went in has no taste, and the najasa that went in has no smell, the najasa that went in has no color. So how do we know it has changed the water? You have to estimate now with qualities that are very thick. So you have to estimate this much of najasa went in. If this much najasa was ink, okay, this is a heavy quality. If it was ink and went into this birmil, this drum, Is it going to change the water or not, the color? If it is, then the water has become najis. Okay. What if this type of najasa was in smell? In smell, you're going to use the smell of misk, because the smell of misk is very heavy. It is strong. So a cup of misk fell, a cup of urine, which has no smell, nothing went into this drum. But because it has no smell or color, I don't know whether it's affected the water or not. So if you are going to estimate it with smell, imagine that cup of urine was misk and it went into the drum. That cup of misk, will it affect the drum or not? If it will affect the drum, which is a lot of water, will it affect it? And that water has become najis. If it is not going to affect it, then it means that the najasa has not been able to change the water. You have to estimate. So you have to estimate in najasa going into a lot of water. If the najasa itself is munqati'ul awsafi, it has no characteristics. So you have to estimate the highest of qualities. So for color, for visual change, you have to estimate that ink went in. Okay, for smell change, you have to estimate that misk went in. Okay, so you have smell and visual, and what else? The taste. For the taste, you have to estimate that vinegar went in. Okay, so estimate this much of najasa if it was vinegar and went into the, so is it going to change it or not? If the najasa itself that went in has its qualities, then you do not need to estimate. Okay, the najasa is urine, it still has its color, the urine has color, or it has its smell and so on, then you don't need to estimate. But the najasa has stayed in a place for such a long time, it has lost all of its qualities. And now somehow a child came and put it into the drum, the place where people make wudu from. So you cannot until you estimate these qualities. Okay. I hope it's understood. It's a bit in and out. Huh? So you have al-ma'ul qalil, the little water which is less than 2 qullas. If najasa goes in, it touches the water, then the water has become najis. If it's ma'u kathir, the najasa goes in, it has to change the water. If it doesn't change the water, then the water is clean. Okay. Here you need to watch out for something. If the water itself needs something, for example, we keep water in, in some places there is water tanks on the roofs, isn't it? So because of keeping it, sometimes the water tank affects the water, maybe in smell or color. But the water needs the tank, isn't it? So if it's affected by maqarrihi, the place where it is kept, then that does not, it's okay. Or mamarrihi, for some people the water is there, they need to bring it through channels. So when the water is passing through the channel, it picks up the smell or the color of the channel. Maybe it picks up the smell of the soil or the color of the soil. To get it to your place, it has to pass through there. So because of that passing, you cannot get the water unless it passes through there. So that also does not affect it. If the water cannot do without that thing, then that is okay. But if the water can do without it, for example, you have a pond here where people make wudu, and you have a tree, and the tree has fruits, okay? And the fruits, usually people, what do with fruits? They go and pick them up. But somehow, they left the fruits and the fruits went into the water. The water does not need the fruits falling into it, okay? And the human beings, they are looking after the fruits, so they should go and pick it up. So if they let the fruits fall in until it affects the water, then that water has become now, it doesn't become najis because the fruit is tahir. It is ghayru mutahhir. But if the leaves fall into the water, because people do not care whether the leaves fall into the water or not. They care about the fruits, but the leaves they don't care. So the pond cannot do without the leaves. Nobody is going to save it from the leaves. So if the leaves fall into the water and changes the water, then it's fine. Changes the color of the water or the taste of the water, it is fine. Okay, so anything that the water can do without, and it changes the water, then we have to see whether, if it changes the water, then it becomes ghayru tahir. And if the water can not do without, then if it changes the water, then it's okay. If it's changed with بمقره أو ممره, then it's okay. Okay. We have also mujibatul ghusli. Faslun, these are short, so we'll do it inshallah. Faslun mujibatul ghusli sitta. 6 things make somebody compulsory for him to do ghusl, which is wajib. Okay, ilajul hashafati fil farj. The first thing is intercourse. Okay, and by intercourse we mean that the hashafa, which is the head of the male's private part, has to be inserted in the farj. So it has to go inside the woman's private part. So it has to go to such area, to such distance that when somebody is making a ghusl, that part is not wajib for them to wash. Okay. So ilajul hashafati fil farj, if there is intercourse, and by intercourse we mean that the head of the male's private part is inserted. It goes, that much deep into the woman's private part. And if somebody has his male part, chopped off, or there's deformity, then you estimate that kind of distance. If that distance goes in, then it becomes wajib again to do ghusl janaba. Okay, the second thing is khurujul mani, the coming of the productive water, whether male or female. Okay, khurujul mani. And the males have 4 types of water coming out. They have the bowl, which is the urine, and they have the mani. Okay, and the mani is a white substance. Okay, it comes out it doesn't come out in one motion. It comes out in gushes. It comes out when somebody becomes very excited, and after the coming out, he becomes deflated. So this is mani. Okay, another type of water comes out, which is also called madhi. Madhi is the thing that comes before mani. When a man is excited, something comes out very sticky, very light. Okay, that is najis. Okay, that is najis. It breaks wudu, and it is also najis, madhi. And wadi comes out. Wadi is another substance that is very thick. Okay, it comes out maybe after urinating. Sometimes it comes out. It might come out like small blocks. Okay, it is very thick substance. And maybe if somebody carries something very heavy, okay, it comes out. This is wadi. Wadi and madhi and bowl, the urine, they are all najis. If it comes out, a person should clean his private part and make wudu for tahara. As for mani, it is tahir according to the Shafi'i. The mani is tahir. Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she used to take the thobe of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the dress of the Prophet, and she used to just scratch it. Okay, and the Prophet used to wear it, and he used to go and pray salah in it. And because mani is the substance, it is the creation of the human being, it is from mani. So we say, how can prophets, who are the highest of creation, how can they be made from najasa? So mani, according to the Shafi'i, it is tahir. Okay, so the mani coming out, whether it's from male's mani or women's mani, if it comes out, wajab al-ghusli, ghusl has become wajib. The third thing is al-hayd. It is the monthly period. So when it finishes, and a woman now needs to make salah, she needs to do the compulsory bath. And nifas, the blood that comes after birth, and nifas. Okay, nifas only comes, the blood that comes after birth. So when that blood finishes, then a woman needs to it is compulsory for her to do ghusl before she can pray or touch Quran or read Quran and so on. The fifth thing is al-wilada. Okay, the giving of birth. So if a woman gives birth, that act has made for her compulsory to take a bath, compulsory bath. Wal maut, and if a person dies, it is also compulsory for him to be washed. The compulsory for a dead person falls upon the living. So it is compulsory for the living now to wash the dead. So the dead needs to be washed before he is buried. And of course, we're talking about the dead who is not shaheed. Okay, the shaheed, he is buried the way he died. But the one who is not shaheed, then he has to be washed. So it is compulsory for 6 people for them to have a compulsory bath. After intercourse, if mani comes out, okay, after hayd, the monthly period, or after nifas, the blood that follows birth, okay, al-wilada, giving birth itself, okay, and last thing, death. And by death we mean that the compulsory act of giving the birth falls upon the Muslim, not the dead person. And there are many also birth that are masnoon, that are favorable, that the Sharia likes these birth. The one that is done for Jum'ah, okay, so it is masnoon for people to have baths on Jum'ah. It is also masnoon for people to have baths on Eid day. So if tomorrow is Eid, from half of the night it is masnoon for somebody to take that bath. For somebody who is giving birth, is giving the bath to the dead person, after he does that, it is masnoon for him also to go and have a shar'i bath. If a person becomes Muslim, okay, it is masnoon for him to take a bath. If a person becomes insane and he comes out of his insanity, or somebody falls unconscious and comes out of his unconsciousness, then it is masnoon for him to take a bath. As long as while they are in that state, they did not have any of these other 6. So if somebody who is not Muslim, he was in the state of janaba, he became Muslim, it is now wajib for him to take a bath because he needs to take out that state of impurity. Or somebody became insane, majnoon, in the state of insanity, mani came out. So it becomes wajib for him now, after he regains his sanity, to take a compulsory bath. Now, inshallah, we stop there, bi'idhnillah. Any questions? Now the person, they're all in the hadith, they come as shaheed. But the shaheed that we meant by the bath here is a shaheed who is dead, who is killed in the...
So that would apply also to the person who's drowned?
No, the person who's drowned, he needs to be washed. Okay, the shaheed, the one who does not get cleaned, meaning they don't give him a bath, is the one who dies in battle. You know, the martyr, that kind of shaheed. But the shaheed who dies in sea, or the shaheed who dies in the path of Allah seeking knowledge, is also shaheed. So many other different types of shaheed. If they die, we need to wash him. If you know that this is madhi, then that is najasa. If you don't know whether there is madhi or not, then you're going to say it is tahir, isn't it? That is an ishkal that is sometimes is...
They always will leave for wet something somehow.
I know that is the ishkal that is drawn sometimes to the Shawafi. And they say that probably there is no mani unless with madhi, isn't it? And we say that this is because of the hadith that even though the mani of the prophets or the things that come out of the stomachs of the prophet, they are clean anyway. They are not najis. Okay. So, but the Prophet ﷺ is there to give us the ahkam. If it was najis, he would have said something. So anyway, if they say maybe in this state, it has become sort of ma'fu anhu, because it is difficult to distinguish between the mani and the madhi. But if you know definitely that this is madhi, then that is najis. Now. طيب. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.